What's up YouTube, Saf here on Super Saf TV, and this is our initial comparison of the Samsung Galaxy S8 versus the iPhone 10. Now initially let me just clarify, why is this called the iPhone 10 when we see an X on here? A few people have been asking me this. Well, Apple are using Roman numerals for all of the text and the logos. If you don't know what those are, then just go ahead and Google those. Now that's out the way, let's get straight to the comparison. Starting off with the display sizes, we have the same size displays, 5.8 inches on both devices, and both have minimal bezels. These are some of the best displays out there when we look at screen to body ratio. Just very minimal bezels, which means we get larger displays in smaller size bodies. Both displays also have OLED technology. Now this is great to see on Apple's side. Samsung has had OLED displays for quite some time now, but this is the first OLED display that Apple has. Previously we've had LCD, and there's never really been a comparison because LCD is just not as great when it comes to contrast ratios and things compared to OLED. So it's great to see that Apple now have this. And as far as I'm aware, Samsung is actually providing those OLED displays because Samsung is the only manufacturer that can produce such large quantities of OLED displays. So this does seem to be the case. But either way, it's great to see OLED displays on both devices. Now, the iPhone 10 does have 3D touch, however, so that is a pressure sensitive display, so you can push down hard and get more options and things. You do have a pressure sensitive home button on the S8, but this is just on the home button area. The S8 does, however, have an always on display, so you can choose to enable this and it's going to show you your time, notifications and things. This is really beneficial to just have a glance at your phone at a distance and not have to unlock it and pick it up or anything like that. Now moving on to the resolution, the S8 actually has a higher resolution here, 2960 by 1440. On the iPhone 10, you've got 2346 by 1125. Apple always uses random numbers when it comes to resolution. I wish they actually just used a more round off number, but hey, that's not up to me. Now that works out to roughly about 458 ppi pixel density, which is definitely quite high and higher than any other iPhone that we've had before. But when you compare it to the S8, you've got 570 ppi pixel density, so you've got quite a high resolution on the S8, and this is generally going to mean that text and images are just that much more sharper on the S8 compared to the iPhone 10, especially when you've got the device up close. Now moving on to the physical dimensions of both devices, because they have 5.8 inch displays, they are quite similar in size. The S8 however is slightly taller, around about 5.3 millimeters. The iPhone 10 is a little bit wider, around 2.8 millimeters. Now this is because we've got slight differences in terms of the aspect ratio of both devices, but both of them are more narrower compared to 16 by 9. This just means you're going to be able to fit in more on the top and bottom. The S8 is also slightly thicker by 0.3 millimeters. Really not much in between these two. In the hand, both of them are going to be quite comfortable to hold despite the 5.8 inch display size. The S8 however is a little bit lighter compared to the iPhone 10, around about 19 grams lighter, so maybe a little bit more comfortable to hold. I would advise going into a store and trying both of these out in hand when the iPhone 10 is out, and that way you'll get a better idea of which one will be a bit more comfortable for yourself. Now in terms of the build, both of these have very premium builds, and both of them are also very similar. We've got metal frames with glass panels on the front and back. Now with the S8 you actually have curved glass panels on the front and back, and the S8 is one of the only devices out there that has this dual edge display, which in my opinion looks very nice. You do have a slight drop off on the sides, so a slight curve on the sides of the iPhone 10, but it is not as significant as the S8. The S8 also has symmetrical curves on the back as well. Now design is obviously going to come down to personal preference. One thing that I will mention is that because we have these glass backs, they kind of track fingerprints, so I definitely recommend picking up a skin from our channel sponsor Dbrand. It's a great and inexpensive way to customize the look of your smartphone, as well as give it some grip. I'll be leaving a link to Dbrand in the description below. Both devices are also water and dust resistant, so you've got IP68 on the S8 IP67 on the iPhone 10. So the S8 is slightly higher in terms of the rating. And you've also got more color options available on the S8, up to 6 color options depending on which region you're in. On the iPhone 10, you've just got the 2 color options initially, silver and space gray. There may be some more later on, but currently there is just the 2 color versions. Once again, you can customize those with a skin. Now moving on to the internals, both of these are packing some of the best out there. So you've got the Snapdragon 835 or the Exynos 8895 on the S8. It's been working pretty well in my experience. On the iPhone 10, you're going to be having the Apple A11 Bionic processor. Now this is supposed to be super fast, especially compared to the previous generation iPhone. And there's been a heavy emphasis on AR from Apple, so this will be interesting to see how they integrate this going forward. In terms of which one of these is going to be faster and things like that, this is going to come down to a lot of factors. We've got different operating systems here as well. We've got Android version 7.0 with the Samsung Experience skin on top of the Samsung Galaxy S8 currently. And on the iPhone 10, it's going to come with iOS 11 straight out of the box. So we will have to do a side-by-side speed test between these two to see which one is faster overall. And if you do want to see that, then make sure you have subscribed and switch on notifications. In my experience, I do find that iOS is a little bit better optimized because it's made by Apple. And you also get updates quicker from iOS. On the Android side of things, you do get better customization. Again, this does come down to your personal preference. In terms of storage, you've got either 64 or the 256 GB options on the iPhone 10. Just the 2 options here. With the Samsung Galaxy S8, you've got 64 gigabytes, but you can expand that with the micro SD card slot. This is something that's not available on the iPhone 10. Now let's move on to the cameras. So the S8 has a 12 megapixel single camera with dual pixel autofocus and f1.7 aperture with optical image stabilization. It's definitely one of the best cameras this year so far. It takes some great shots in all different conditions. I've done lots of different camera tests with the S8, so definitely do go ahead and check them out on the channel. With the iPhone 10, you actually have a dual camera setup. So you've got dual 12 megapixel cameras with dual OIS, so both cameras do have optical image stabilization. The primary camera is wide angle with an f1.8 aperture, and then you've got a secondary telephoto camera which is going to give you 2 times optical zoom, and that has an f2.4 aperture. Now because of both of these cameras, you are going to be able to get a certain effects such as portrait mode, which is going to blur the background on your shots. There is a similar function available on the S8, but personally I don't use it because it doesn't work too well. A single camera is not going to have the same ability to sense depth as a dual camera. Now with the iPhone 10, you also have a new feature which is portrait lighting, and this is going to allow you to change your lighting style on your shots, and you're going to be able to do this after the fact as well. Looks very, very promising. Now moving on to video, once again we do have a bit of an advantage here on the iPhone 10. With 4K at up to 60 frames a second, you've got 4K at 30 frames a second on the S8, and you've also got 1080p at 240 frames a second on the iPhone 10. On the S8, it is just 720p. So for the video side of things, the iPhone 10 definitely gets the advantage here, but we'll be doing some super SAF style camera comparisons as soon as the iPhone 10 is out commercially. So do look out for those videos and make sure you have subscribed. Moving on to the front-facing cameras, the S8 has an 8 megapixel front-facing camera with an f1.7 aperture, as well as autofocus. So this is one of the only front-facing cameras that has autofocus. Now with the iPhone 10, you've got a 7 megapixel front-facing camera with an f2.2 aperture, but because of the additional sensors that you have at the front, you are going to be able to have some additional features such as the portrait mode. So that's also going to be available from the front-facing camera, as well as the portrait lighting. And then you've also got something called Animojis, which is going to track your face and then make those into animated emojis if you're into that kind of a thing. I don't know. Now in terms of video from the front-facing camera, you've got 1080p on the iPhone 10, but you do have up to 1440p resolution on the Samsung Galaxy S8. So once again, we will do a detailed camera comparison as soon as the commercial version of the iPhone 10 is available. Now let's talk a little bit about the additional features that both devices offer. So in terms of security, the Samsung Galaxy S8 does have a fingerprint scanner. Now this is at the back and it is slightly inconvenient. This is something that we've talked about quite a bit. You do get used to it because of muscle memory after a bit, but it's definitely inconvenient. You do, however, have the iris scanner, which is a good alternative, and you also have face recognition, so you can unlock your device with your face. However, it is not as secure as the other methods and can be fooled by a picture if you do try hard enough. Now, with the iPhone 10, there is actually no fingerprint scanner whatsoever. Looks like Apple could not integrate this within the display as they were trying to do so. But you have Face ID. Now, this is a 3D facial recognition technology, so it's more secure and more accurate compared to that on the Samsung Galaxy S8. And it's supposed to be a quick and easy way to unlock your device. However, on the S8, you do have multiple options. I do wish that Apple did have a fingerprint scan at the back on the Apple logo, in addition to Face ID, just so you have the option of using that if needed. It looks like next year, hopefully, we'll just have it within the display, however. Now, in the audio department, the iPhone 10 does get the advantage because of stereo speakers. So you've got one in the earpiece and one at the bottom. Now, with the Samsung Galaxy S8, you've only got the single bottom-facing speaker, so the iPhone 10 does get the advantage here. However, there is no 3.5mm headphone jack on the iPhone 10. This is something that we do have on the Samsung Galaxy S8, and you do also get AKG earphones out of the box. So this is going to come down to your personal preference. Not having a 3.5mm headphone jack can be quite inconvenient for a lot of people. Just something to bear in mind. In terms of voice assistants, you've got Bixby versus Siri. We'll do a comparison a bit later when we have the iPhone 10 out. A lot of this will come down to your personal preference. Generally, both do work quite well. On Bixby, the advantage is that you can go more deep within apps to take actions. This is something that you currently can't do on the iPhone 10. And moving on to the batteries, the Samsung Galaxy S8 has a 3000 mAh battery. We don't have the exact size of the iPhone 10 battery as yet. Apple have not specified this, but we will do some detailed battery tests between these two as soon as the retail unit of the iPhone 10 is out. The new thing on the iPhone 10, which has been on the Galaxy series for some time, is wireless charging. So we have wireless charging on both devices. It's great to see that Apple has finally got this feature, which has been available on many of the devices for a very long time. You've got fast charging out of the box of the Samsung Galaxy S8. Very convenient whenever you need a quick top up. Now, the iPhone 10 does support fast charging, but Apple have not specified if they're going to be including a fast charger out of the box. Now, with the way things go with Apple, I'm assuming that they'll probably charge an additional fee for a fast charger, but we'll have to wait and see of that. They've not really been too specific around this. Now, in terms of pricing and availability, the Samsung Galaxy S8 is currently available. I've had a look around at some prices. You're going to be looking at roughly about £550, around about $650 depending on where you go. The S8 was on offer a little bit ago as well, so the price can go a little bit up and down, but this is generally the price that you're going to be paying for the S8 off contract. Now, with the iPhone 10, if you don't know the price already, you might want to sit down for this. It starts at $1,000 or £1,000, so very, very expensive. One of the most expensive devices out currently. Everyone was complaining about the price of the Note 8 when it came out, but the iPhone 10 has just topped that. So you're going to be paying quite a bit of a premium for the iPhone 10. And if you do want to get the version with 256 gigabytes of storage, you're going to be paying around $1,150 or £1,150. Again, very, very expensive. When it comes to pounds, you're going to be paying almost half the price for the S8 compared to the iPhone 10. So no doubt that's going to be a big deciding factor. So there we have it, guys. The initial comparison between the Samsung Galaxy S8 and the iPhone 10. Both devices look really nice because of the minimal bezels and those large OLED displays. But you are going to be paying quite a bit more for the iPhone 10. Yes, you're going to be getting some additional features such as the dual cameras as well as the facial recognition technology. but are those worth that extra price? Well, if you're somebody who uses iOS, then this might be justifiable for you. But if you're on a bit of a budget and you want to go for something that's still a really, really good phone, and definitely one of the best of this year, then the S8 is a great option. What do you think of both of these devices? Which one do you think is better? Definitely drop me a comment below and let me know. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, then please do hit that thumbs up button for me. It really does help me out. If you haven't already, then be sure to subscribe and switch on notifications. There's lots more content coming up on here. Thanks for watching. This is Saf on Super Saf TV, and I'll see you next time.